Every July, for 2 weeks, several hundred of the most powerful men in America vanish into a private forest in Northern California. No wives, no cameras, no phones, no press. Just presidents, secretaries of state, Fed chairmen, CEOs of the largest banks and defense contractors, Supreme Court justices, and the occasional foreign dignitary arrive by private jet and chauffeured black car to a 2,700-acre compound sealed tighter than Los Alamos. There they drink century-old bourbon, relieve themselves on redwoods, and stage a mock human sacrifice ritual in front of a 40-foot concrete owl. They call it summer camp. The rest of us are expected to call it harmless eccentricity. Welcome to Bohemian Grove, the most exclusive, most expensive, and most deliberately absurd display of unaccountable power on Earth. This is the stateless standard. In the next 10 minutes, we will walk beneath those redwoods together, and you will decide whether what happens there is networking or rehearsal. The Bohemian Club was founded in 1872 in San Francisco by journalists and artists who claimed they simply wanted to escape the city. Within a decade, the artists had been politely shown the door and replaced by the owners of railroads, banks, and newspapers. By the 1920s, the waiting list was 15 years long, and the membership capped at roughly 2,500 of the richest, most connected men in America. Herbert Hoover called the annual encampment the greatest men's party on Earth. He was not wrong about the gender exclusivity. Until 2023, the club still banned women as full members, allowing them only as employees or as entertainment flown in for the final weekend. The Grove itself is a private kingdom hidden among redwoods 75 miles north of San Francisco. It contains more than 120 separate camps named, with aristocratic irony, things like Mandalay, Caveman, Lost Angels, and ISIS. Each camp is a miniature fiefdom. Some have their own chefs flown in from Paris, others their own pipe organs. The cost of membership is rumored to exceed $200,000 in today's dollars, plus annual dues that would fund a small nation's defense budget. And all of it is tax-exempt because the club maintains with a straight face that it is a literary and artistic society. The centerpiece of the encampment is the Cremation of Care ceremony, performed every opening night since the 1880s. A robed procession carries a bound effigy labeled Dull Care across the lake to the foot of the towering owl shrine. A high priest in crimson intones pseudo-occult liturgy, pyrotechnics erupt, and the effigy is set ablaze, while hundreds of the most powerful men on the continent cheer like teenagers. The club insists it is merely symbolic, burning the burdens of the world so they can relax. One is tempted to ask why the burdens of the world require such expensive security to be burned in effigy. The cynicism reaches operatic levels when you examine what actually happens after the owl is appeased. The Grove has no official minutes, but it has an impeccable record of unofficial ones. In 1942, the Manhattan Project was planned over lakeside drinks in Caveman Camp. J. Robert Oppenheimer was a guest the following year. In the 1960s, Hillbillies Camp hosted discussions that became Nixon's Southern Strategy and Reagan's gubernatorial platform. In 1982, a conversation between Caspar Weinberger and George Shultz in Mandalay Camp laid the groundwork for the Strategic Defense Initiative. In the 1990s, a Grove talk by a little-known governor of Texas named George W. Bush impressed the assembled elders enough that serious money began flowing his way. The pattern is so consistent that political reporters now treat attendance at Bohemian Grove as the quiet coronation before the public one. Defenders, usually former attendees granted Sunday morning talk show slots, describe it as just guys being guys. One struggles to recall another fraternity that requires Air Force One to land at a private airstrip, or that has its own CIA liaison officer on site. The same voices assure us nothing policy-related is ever discussed. They say that with a straight face, while the guest list includes the sitting Secretary of Defense, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and the CEOs of every company that profits from the defense budget. In recent years, the Grove has made modest concessions to optics. A handful of token women were finally admitted as full members in 2023 after decades of lawsuits. And the club now publishes a sanitized public list of attendees that mysteriously omits half the names. The owl still burns, the bourbon still flows, and the redwoods still absorb whatever is whispered beneath them. The only thing that has changed is the security, drones, facial recognition checkpoints, and rumors of signal jamming bubbles that make even Starlink useless. All, we are told, to protect privacy. So what is Bohemian Grove? A harmless retreat for overworked titans? A networking event with better catering than Davos? Or the annual calibration session, where the men who own the newspapers, the banks, the bombs, and the ballots remind one another who exactly is in charge, while the rest of the country argues about culture war distractions? The answer, as always, depends on how much contempt you believe the ruling class is willing to display in plain sight before you stop calling it coincidence. If this stroll through the redwoods has left you slightly less relaxed than the attendees, do the necessary. Like, subscribe to the Stateless Standard, share the video before the algorithm decides summer camp is sensitive content, and tell us in the comments which part of the ritual you find most reassuring. Until next time, stay skeptical, stay sovereign, and remember, when the powerful tell you they're just burning dull care, they usually mean yours.